It is Tuesday night, the Tuesday Night Big Show with Daddy Alex. My name is Daddy Alex. If you haven't figured that out yet, it's true. Yes, that is a matter of fact. And this is the Tuesday Night Big Show, guys. Thanks for stopping in. Boy, I mean, there is a lot going on in the world, isn't there? I mean, if you're on the political side, and you like talking about all that war stuff, you know what? I'm not even, I do, I'm not politically dumb. Let me just tell you that. But I really prefer not getting, there's a lot of other channels that get into that stuff, right? But there is a lot going on in the world, and that affects the stock market. I used to work in the stock market. So there's a lot of things that are going on. And I tell you, in the entertainment world, oh, guys, we're going to be talking about a few things today. As you can see, it's hard. It's easier than it looks. Pointing right here. Is Snyder coming back? Right? It sounds dumb. I'm telling you guys, there's a very good chance. There's a very good chance that the Snyderverse will be returning. You can applaud. You can boo. I don't know. It's up to you. It's hard. It's going to be hard to get worse than the Gunverse. I'll tell you that much. It's going to be hard. I tell you. Man of Tomorrow is coming out. And it's almost like it's almost like, of course there's a time, you can't fudge the timelines of a movie, right? You've got massive production budgets and the schedule timing, 1,000 people need to be scheduled. So the fact that Gunn feels like or seems like he's fast tracking all of this through, well, probably not, but he's probably, look, with the Warner Brothers and the Paramount acquisition, you're gonna be looking at a lot of changes. Gunn knows that, and for all intents and purposes, we'll get into it. We're gonna get into it. What is if Warner Brothers Paramount goes through, and I'm telling you, who's been busy on the European side? David Ellison. Now, probably they may have to divest themselves of a number of items, but if they can keep the goodies, right? If they can keep Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, HBO, all of the good stuff, all the big, basically the things that make Warner Brothers what they are, and they divest the stuff they need to, the deal will go through. Now, there's other jeopardy in the California side. We're going to get into that later on. It's not a done deal, that's for sure. Not even close. Doomsday, right there. Doomsday. Is Doomsday doomed? Now, there's been a few leaks. There's been a few leaks on Doomsday. A big leak. And I about the plot and what the whole thing is about, the whole movie's about. Interestingly enough, guys, you know what I did? I went ahead and I watched all of the three Captain America movies and then the Avenger movies over the last few days. And it actually brings some nostalgic ideas. Like it kind of shows, and we'll talk about it more during that segment, which is after Snyderverse, but it kind of shows. I have thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I've always maintained. I think, look, this is a desperate gamble. This is something that is just. So what happens after Doomsday and Secret Wars? Old Man Iron Man. You bring the whole ensemble back. You thought you were so smart, Kevin Feige. You thought you were so smart. Yeah, thought you could release anything. And I also have some other evidence, some other things that I do that basically shows that fans basically almost are are numb to the whole idea of the superhero. They honestly don't care. And I have stuff that I do with some of my other videos, some of my other channels. I tell you, man, I don't think they care much. But we're going to go over that. And then Starfleet episode 9. There's only 2 episodes left in the first season. A lot of people will say, thank God, thank God, thank God. The one thing is that, you know what? It's a lot funner to rip and tear down really bad stuff than it is to just send praise to all the good stuff. There's nothing fun about sitting there for 2 hours talking about how good movies were. Maybe the whole idea, like the whole idea of Pop Rage is we got to tear some stuff down. We got to tear down the crap, and that's the fun of it. And so it was like, when the Acolyte ended, it was kind of sad. I'm telling you, it was kind of sad. Why was it sad? Because it's so fun tearing it down. And now you kind of wish there was a second season of The Acolyte so Disney could waste another $250 million and we again could go through a second round of lambasting some of the stupidest TV shows, writing, directing, putting together ever in the history of humankind, ever. So that is, yeah. We will miss to a certain degree. We will miss Starfleet Academy, but that is our third act. Should I put a third act? Our third segment, and our fourth segment, a GOT movie, Game of Thrones. Is there a Game of Thrones? What does it mean? As a screenwriter, I got my own thoughts on that. I think, but look, this whole Warner Brothers, Paramount, even the possibility of an acquisition over the next 9 to 12 months is going to greatly impact what series and what movies get greenlit and which ones don't. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. So, what? I got cheers to your health. I got to live my Tuesday night red wine. I'm going to have a sip of it to your health. But if we go, let's get this baby started. Come on. Well, I think someone just texted me. Ooh, guys, here's the question. Are you a Snyder fan or are you a Gunn fan? That's the big question, I know that there's a lot of Snyder. If I was going to pick, if I had to choose, which universe would I want to watch? Would I want to watch Man of Steel or would I want to watch Superman 2025? I would have to pick Superman or Man of Steel. I would have to pick for sure. Everything that's going to come for the Gunverse, if it's going to be, it's almost like shoestring bubblegum movies. It is like this less than creative, basic strands of plot that kind of dangle. It's like strands of plot that dangle and kind of intermix themselves in a basic. It's certainly not. Look, if you liked Superman 2025, it's hard for me to understand why, because it was not a good movie on so many levels. It was not a good movie. If you take the Superman out, which was kind of like a baseline $400 million, right? If you do a Superman movie, it's baseline $400 million. I think the movie did $600 million, right? $600 million. So it's not, I mean, that's a pretty bad, the story was bad, everything. But the things that we look at from the Snyderverse perspective, and the Snyderverse fans are going to say, look, the proof is in the pudding. And you know what? They do. They do. They got a point. They got a point. So I don't know which one to do first here. I'm gonna punch this one up. Just where are we here? So I got this up. Add to stage. Where are we here? If we do that, how's it look? Good. Okay. So basically, so this is something that came out. I was gonna do this. So we had some news break late in the day, like literally an hour and a half before we went on air, and so I had a couple of articles that I want to get into this whole Snyderverse versus Gunn thing. And Zack Snyder, back on February 27th, he had a few comments. And I was going to do this, but I was going through a move. I just moved. And I just have a new studio and everything like that on the 25th. So I've kind of been out of, you know what happens when you move. So anyway, I wanted to do this article. Zack Snyder says, go F yourselves if you think his fans are toxic, and defends Batman v Superman 10 years later. Do you really want a movie where the decisions have been made in a boardroom? Now, he makes some good points. Like, no, I don't think anyone wants decisions made in the boardroom, but that's the matter of fact. For Final Cut, usually the boardroom gets Final Cut, especially when they're paying $250 million for the movie. What he's suggesting there, he got Final Cut. The problems with Batman v Superman is, at least for me, it dealt with a story, right? So the problems, like some of the motivations, some of the reasons that things happened, and all these things, for the most part, it wasn't a bad movie. But in terms of some of the motivations, why things happened, why would Superman allow Batman to go save his mother if he just goes and flies out? Well, you should have had him incapacitated from the kryptonite, right? That he couldn't do anything. Time was of the essence. There should have been a clock ticking. That Batman's got to go, and Superman is absolutely incapacitated. Because like hell, Superman's going to just fly out and let Batman save his mother. That was one of the dumbest parts of the entire movie. That because it was so dumb, so ridiculous in terms of motivation, that was a big one. It was a really big one. There's a couple more, but for the most part, did I enjoy Batman v Superman? I did. It wasn't, I tell you, compared to what we got today, wasn't bad. Zack Snyder joined the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast to mark the 10th anniversary of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, his highly divisive comic book movie that opened to negative reviews on March 25th, 2016, but went on to gross a mighty $874 million worldwide. Although because of the budgets and everything, I think it lost about $50 million in the aftermarket. It made money in the aftermarket, but still, this was, and you have to admit, this is the downswing of, well, mind you, this was not the downswing. This was kind of the zenith. 2016, that was Infinity Wars came out, right? So there's some arguments there. The tentpole was Snyder's sequel to the already polarizing Man of Steel, which sent comic book fans into a tizzy for depicting Superman killing Zod, and BVS only divided fans further with Batman killing criminals, the two heroes bonding over their moms both being named Martha. I had no problem Batman being a kick-ass. I mean, look, that fight with I think what's his name? Batman. I forgot his name. The Snyder Batman. What's it? Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin. Oh my god. Yeah, Alec Baldwin Batman. He was probably easily the best Batman, at least in in my words. My 100% honest reaction to BVS and how it's received in the world is: do you really want a movie that's had all the edges shaved off by the focus groups? He has a point. Snyder's got a point, because today it feels like a lot of things are neutered. Snyder said in defense of the movie 10 years later, do you really want a movie where the decisions have been made in a boardroom or tested ideas have been rendered for your enjoyment? Do you really want the Kmart version of your story? Is that what you really want? Well, you know, he has a point. So I was just checking one thing here. Look, that fight with Ben Affleck on that, when he jumps off and he goes to save Martha, right? That was easily, guys. That was the best Batman fight ever. We saw. Christian Bale fighting was just a really bad boxer, right? I mean, really, I'm not a big fan of the trilogy. Sorry, I'm not a big fan of the Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises, it's a little different. There's obviously glowing aspects to that movie in terms of Heath Ledger and the acting. But if you take Heath Ledger out of that movie, you really got to ask yourself, what do you have? Because sometimes an antagonist is going to pull out all of the great things, the intensity. It's going to bring out the plot, the protagonist versus the antagonist dynamics. Heath Ledger did that. The third one, oh my God, that was one of the worst movies. I'm telling you, man. These are my opinion. But let's get back to Snyderverse. But Snyder was, basically, look, the people that like Snyderverse are pretty aggressive in the sense that, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong, because the visuals, the intensity, the darkness. I disagree with starting off an entire universe with Superman. I don't think that's the best idea. To me, Batman in DC in the DC universe, Batman is kind of like the fulcrum, the tent pole by which you create the entire universe. And that we are now with the Gunverse, we are going to get 2 Superman movies and a Supergirl movie. So this is basically the Superverse. It's not even. I mean, that's what makes it so hilarious. It's not even. Yeah, it's the Superverse, the Gunn Superverse. It's the super. So anyway, we have Batman v Superman. We'll finish this off. Batman v Superman was the second movie in Snyder's DC universe, dubbed the Snyderverse. Although one of my biggest problems with the Snyderverse was that there was no Ben Affleck Batman movie. That was a problem. Big problem. I would have loved to have seen a Ben Affleck Batman movie. Justice League came next with its own polarizations after Snyder left the production due to a family tragedy, and it was a pretty, and the studio brought in Joss Whedon to rewrite scenes and conduct reshoots. This led to a social media movement of Snyder fans calling Warner Brothers to release the Snyder cut of Justice League, which they did, and also a black and white version, which the studio permitted Zack Snyder's Justice League. We'll finish this off. I love the mythological journey we went on in these 3 movies, Snyder said. The intensity of where we ended up with Justice League and how it evolved and where it came from, that whole insanity. When we were trying for the PG-13 rating for Batman v Superman, the MPAA kept kicking the movie back to us saying it's still an R. I remember someone saying, we got a report from the MPA saying, we just don't like the idea of Batman fighting Superman. Look, these are stupid regulators. Not surprising. It's not surprising. That kind of makes it an R. He really hits him hard with that sync. That's rude. That feels like an R. I'm just like, okay, let's just pretend it's not Batman versus Superman for 1 second. You realize that when we were kicking the zeitgeist in the nuts, and we were going to anger people, Snyder continued, not only do they want their heroes deconstructed, they don't want their heroes battling each other on a road to deconstructing the why of their existence. That's another sacrilege. The Snyderverse ended before Snyder got to make 2 more Justice League movies, although he admitted on the podcast that he's absolutely talked about bringing those movies. This is going to go on here. Bringing those 2 movies to life somehow in other mediums. He might not need to use other mediums. A comic book or animation, Snyder added, we live in a world where all that is possible. Of course, that is greatly going to depend on whether, what happens with Warner Brothers and Paramount, if there's an acquisition. And look, these things are, nobody knows. These acquisitions can turn everything upside down. It's a wild card. It's an absolute wild card. But what we also have, is this the article? Let me just double check. Yes. So there we go. So Saudis confirmed to back Paramount WBD deal as Snyderverse talk surges. This is literally, guys, if you look at the time, March 3rd, 2026, 5:22, it's 1 or 2 hours ago. Variety has now confirmed, Variety has now confirmed. Our sources have been adamant about since day one. Gulf sovereign wealth money is backing Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery deal. Variety reports the merger is being powered by $24 billion from sovereign funds tied to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. A development that immediately raises the stakes for what Paramount wants to do with Hollywood's biggest IP library. Variety, according to Variety, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, Abu Dhabi's Limad Holding Company, and Qatar, and media sparking debate over soft power, whether basically, other countries, should influence media in the United States. So, look, there's no laws against it. And media independence given the asset involved, including CNN and HBO. If CNN, if CNN if they just close CNN, that would be a good thing. There's nothing, I don't know if there's any redeeming qualities about CNN anymore. Variety also notes Paramount has stated in an SEC filing the Saudi investors will not receive governance rights such as board seats or voting, which would reduce certain regulatory complications. And it would. There's foreign ownership rules that need to go through from any sort of infusion of capital and ownership and control. However, Variety highlights analysts arguing that even passive money at this size can still translate into influence over time. It's very true. There's your Ben Affleck Batman. That's my favorite Batman, Ben Affleck. Easily my favorite Batman. That is exactly where our reporting has been headed. We've been told repeatedly that Gulf-backed money wants major event films aimed at mainstream audiences, big testosterone-driven tentpoles built on recognizable heroes and brands. So they're not very woke in Saudi Arabia, or in the Middle East, right? It's a very so if they're going to infuse capital, they're probably going to have back. Even though they don't have board seats, they will have a lot of influence. They do. That includes the return of the Snyderverse. And this is where the money from the Middle East comes into the Snyderverse, which our sources say remains part of the broader event film discussion. And it's not just business. We've been told the Saudis involved are major comic book fans and fans of Zack Snyder specifically, and that they want to go big with the properties. That is, if you're a Zack Snyder fan, let me read that again. So this is the 24 billion coming from Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. We've been told the Saudis involved are major comic book fans and fans of Zack Snyder specifically. And they want to go big. I'll tell you, if that is the case, I will guarantee you that if the Warner Brothers and the Paramount acquisition happens, Gunn is out immediately, and the Snyderverse, I'm telling you, it's right back in there. It is right back in. Whether you like it or not, it's back in. Snyder's back in play. That's what money buys. And it's not just business. We've been told the Saudis involved are major comic book fans. And I think I already read that. So there's, you know what? Where's the image? Look, can I just say, guys, Zack Snyder, look at the casting. I mean, that is some damn fine casting, right? It really is. If you take a look at the casting of all the superhero genre guy, it's dead. It's dead. It's dying, or it is on life support. But there you have Henry Cavill. Would Henry Cavill come back to do Superman? Probably. Was Gal Gadot the best Wonder Woman choice? I don't know, but she wasn't bad. Was there better ones? I'm sure there probably could have been. Ben Affleck, who was my favorite Batman. Jason Momoa. The Flash. Okay, The Flash we could talk about. And then Cyborg in the back there. I'm not sure what that actor is. It's pretty good casting, right? The team felt solid. It felt solid. And there's, but hey, look, if the Snyderverse, good. With Saudi money, there's a good chance it's coming back. Variety also points out how Saudi money has already moved aggressively into entertainment, citing the $55 billion acquisition involving Electronic Arts, the maker of franchises like Madden NFL, Battlefield, and The Sims. If there's any doubt about how much they're willing to spend when they want something, that's a recent example of a massive check written to secure a property, they value. The Saudis have they've got a lot of fucking money. They poke a hole into the desert and oil comes out, and it's clean. It's the cleanest, sweetest crude in the world. Their money is not going away anywhere, and they're diversifying. They're buying properties. They're getting involved in technology and all these other things. So, if they are major backers in the acquisition of Warner Brothers with Paramount, I will guarantee you. And it is a matter of fact that they do like the Snyderverse. It wouldn't surprise me. I will guarantee you that within 1 to 2 weeks, there would be a Zack Snyder announcement that he is returning. Given what we've seen from the Gunverse, I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea at all whatsoever. But there you go, guys. Snyderverse versus Gunverse looks like Snyderverse is winning. Or is going to win. Oh, so I don't think there's anything else I really... So there was some news. I don't know, I seen a couple of other channels go over it with what's his name? I watched the guy twice, 2 or 3. John Campea. I don't like the guy. Not that I don't like the guy. I very rarely do I agree with what he says. I mean, at least I spent 20 years in Hollywood as a screenwriter. This guy just, I don't know. To me, John Campea, and a few channels have gone over some of the things that he has said recently. It's all based on no evidence. I got the article up. You know what? There's no freaking way I'm gonna get into it. I have no. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna close it off. And Doomsday. Let's get right to Doomsday, shall we? That's our next little bit here. Doomsday. Is Doomsday doomed? And as a screenwriter and 20 years and I got out. I am out of Los Angeles. I'm gone. It's been about 7-8 months since I moved. And look, I know a lot of people that moved forcefully. They had no other choice because there's no work there. If you're in production, a lot of businesses, from fashion, production, there's no work. Los Angeles is literally falling apart. And the production business, and make no mistake though, too, guys, California has a huge stake in what happens with Warner Brothers Paramount. Can California kibosh the acquisition? Yes, they can. They have the regulatory power to make sure that that acquisition does not go through. And if they deem, I always maintained that Netflix would not go through, that Netflix would not purchase Warner Brothers, because it wouldn't have happened. Whether it was the EU, California, or whatever regulators, it wouldn't have happened. The Trump administration. And I think after the hearings, Netflix knew that. So they took $2.8 billion from the Ellisons and left. They win. They literally made $2.5 billion. It's a nice payday. Now we have Warner Brothers Paramount. Same problems exist. EU and California. We're going to talk about this more at the end of the segment. However, this impacts a lot of things within California. And now when you take a look at Doomsday, you know what, guys? I just watched, over the last 2 or 3 days, I watched all of the Captain America films and the 3 Avengers. The 3 Captain America films, and then I watched the 3 Avengers. I felt more energized to watch Cap than I did to watch Iron Man. There was a time where that wasn't the case, but I felt that I wanted to lead into the Avengers and I was setting up the new studio, getting, so I had it playing in the background. But I kind of enjoyed it, but I realized it when I was watching it. This is nostalgia. This is already old. These movies are 12, 13, 14 years old, some of them. And we're going back now to a Doomsday. And I've maintained this from day one. Is Doomsday doomed? I tell you, Doomsday was doomed from day frickin' one. Doomsday is... Is it going to do better than the Eternals? Of course it will. Of course it will. Is it going to do better than Shang-Chi? Is it going to do better than Ant-Man or Thor: Love and Thunder? Well, I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder lost some pretty good money, but it still did almost $800 million. I think the budget of Doomsday is going to be almost, with marketing, it's going to be $800 million. $750 million probably. That's a problem. And so is Doomsday doomed? I have maintained that Doomsday is doomed. And now we might have some more evidence. Let me punch this baby up here. I'm going to remove that. Yep. Oh, there we go. Okay. Alrighty here. Where do we go? Oh no, okay. when you are your own producer. So this is a plot leak that just came out. This is from comicbookmovie.com. Avengers Doomsday plot leak breakdown. All your biggest questions about the movie answered. There's spoilers. So if you don't want to know anything about the upcoming Doomsday movie, back out. It's you don't want to listen to what's coming up. Yes, the plot of Avengers Doomsday really has leaked online in full. With reshoots planned, we can expect some changes, and as always, there's likely a fair bit that's been lost in translation as it's been passed from one person to the next. And sometimes they lay honeypots so that they do screw people up, but there's an anticipation. But this looks like a pretty serious release or leak, unintentional leak. However, we've done some digging and have verified with at least 2 trustworthy sources that what you're about to read below is the real deal. The plot of Avengers Doomsday is detailed from start to finish, while there are 1 or 2 points that are a little fuzzy. All signs point to the Russo brothers delivering a suitably epic movie that, alongside Avengers Secret Wars, will wrap up the multiverse saga in style. Needless to say, major spoilers follow from this point on. What is the most hilarious thing? Like this, I mean, it's just so basically, you went on this ridiculous path. When was the Marvels? Was the Marvels a year ago, or was it 2 years ago? A year and a half ago? I think it was like a year and a half ago. It's not that long ago. I mean, that was such a low point for Marvel. And they realized so fast, the what's his name? The other, oh my God, the Ant-Man, let me tell you, Ant-Man, Kang, thank you. You know what? He's been so far removed, I literally forgot his name. Frickin' Kang. Remember? They're all going strong with Kang. Do you remember Ant-Man Wasp Quantumania? Do you remember that? What was the release date on that one? Holy jeez. This is not too long ago, guys. This was 2023, right? 2 years ago. This is only 2 years ago. Ant-Man Quantumania. But they went, if you take a look at phase 4, 5, and 6, all the movies that they try, look, I mean, they fucked up. Right? They fucked up big. Hey, Vavander! The best thing about John Campea is that he hangs out with Robert Mayer Burnett. I can listen to RBF ripoff on Star Trek all day. Okay, I know. I wouldn't disagree. Let's start off our movie by murdering Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I know. I'm waiting for Wanda to make a quick cameo so she could snap Patrick Stewart's neck again. Oh, you know what? I did a little bit of digging to try and understand. The Scarlet Witch went from here to like here, like no, even worse than that, like here to like in terms of uber power, right? And Miss Marvel, like some of the female superheroes went from, they'll like take Thor out in a few seconds, Thor and Hulk put together, right? Yeah, no, I get it. I'm with you, totally with you. I mean, I know what they're trying to do from a screenwriting perspective. I know what they're trying to do. Let me close some of this off here. I don't need that. They don't need that. They're trying to create some stakes right off the bat, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and they're bringing a lot of people back that weren't in phases. All of a sudden, you go from phase 3. I guess Doomsday is in phase 6, right? And you just literally just jump over all the stuff which they know is garbage, and they bring back all of the nostalgia. And everyone knows they're bringing back the nostalgia because they fucked up. To learn more about what's to come in, dudes, yeah, this is spoilers, yes. Avenger Doomsday begins in the reality that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man calls home. He's in the midst of a battle with Deadpool and Wolverine, who've been sent there by Beast with a device capable of destroying this world, similar to how the TVA would prune timelines. Now, I did watch Loki, which was probably the most in-depth TVA series of them all. I mean, the whole TVA thing drives me crazy. I know it was in the comics, but they've relied on it so much, and they're going to rely on it again, right? The TVA, basically, whatever happens has no stakes. It can be reversed by a new, just like Wolverine, right? Wolverine dies, well, they just go find a new one. The stakes are, even though that one worked, Deadpool Wolverine worked, when you start eliminating the stakes, because that's okay if this one dies, we've got a million more we can choose from. You start to lose the reason we're supposed to care for these characters. Wolverine manages to set the device and stays behind, perishing alongside the web slinger. Deadpool, meanwhile, returns to his world while we see Professor X watching on with sadness as another planet falls. I don't know, like, this seems like a pretty detailed release, right? A leak. This is a leak. It's pretty are they going to try and do reshoots? I mean, it'd be freaking expensive, guys. It'd be so expensive. However, the X-Men had no choice, as similar to what we saw in Jonathan Hickman's New Avengers run, which led directly into Secret Wars. You either save one reality or allow both to be destroyed in the incursion. Steve Rogers returns, and this is, now with Steve Rogers, I have to admit, I disagree with a lot of people on how they are using Steve Rogers. The whole idea that Steve Rogers isn't going to be Captain America, at least not in Doomsday. If you remember Infinity Wars, he wasn't Captain America, right? He was Steve Rogers. He introduces himself as Steve Rogers. He does not call himself Captain America. No one didn't have too big of a problem with that. He lost the shield. It made sense in the context of the story. If the fact that when Steve Rogers puts on the Captain America suit and we see him again as Captain America, which will probably be Secret Wars, it's a payoff. So if they are creating some sort of deep, interesting story with Steve Rogers and Captain America, I am okay with that. And I think that's going to create a little bit of intrigue where it's going to be a B story there's going to be some value in that B story. And when we see Captain America, Steve Rogers back as Captain America, probably in Secret Wars with the shield, it will be, if I was a screenwriter, it will be a moment that sort of catapults itself to the point where Steve Rogers shows up as Captain America and people literally jump out of their seats and they clap, right? So I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea that they use it as a rocket fuel going into the Secret Wars. But we'll see. The movie takes us back to Tony Stark's funeral in Avengers Endgame and follows Steve Rogers into the past where he chooses to build a life with Peggy Carter. They have a son, Jim, and receive a visit from Loki. Did you guys watch Loki season 2? The season 2 finale. Apparently, though, we're not sure how this retcon fits into the Disney Plus series just yet. Loki warns Steve about the TVA's plans to prune his new timeline and offers to move them to a world where they can safely hide because they don't exist. Earth 828, the home of the Fantastic Four. Loki leaves the former Captain America with a card he can use to contact him. And he, Peggy, and Jim spend happy 10 years together. Oh, that is so nice, right? That is so nice. The Fantastic Four first steps post-credit scene is expanded on. And Dr. Doom tells Mr. Fantastic about the incursions and the fact that their universe is next. They figure out that someone is living in their reality who shouldn't be there. and visit Steve, who agrees to join them on a trip to Earth 616. I know there's a lot of consternation, where he successfully convinces his world heroes to help Doom enact his plan. To help Doom enact his plan. Avengers versus X-Men. The Avengers versus X-Men battle is a smaller part of the movie than you might expect, and the fight ensues when Earth 616's mightiest heroes arrive seeking help. Though it's not specific in this leak, we'd assume that there's we'd assume they're there. They're there to learn more about Beast's device. The mutant team has survived multiple incursions and are understandably hostile. Later, we learn that Doctor Doom and Reed Richards have a plan to build massive cannons on the remaining Earths, which will somehow separate these parallel realities and end the incursions. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I read that paragraph and I read some of this stuff. It's like, it's getting pretty convoluted. A great screenplay and a great movie is about character. I question. We'll just, and it doesn't mean this is a matter of fact, right? Some of this stuff can be edited out. Some of this stuff might not even be real. Although from the information we have, that it is. They'll have to split into teams and visit different worlds to place them there. Meanwhile, Steve, now reunited with Thor, tells him that he met Loki, who was still alive, and agrees to take the God of Thunder to his brother in the TVA, which they locate with the card mentioned above. When Steve and Thor get there, they find that everyone is dead and Loki has had his heart ripped out. Figuring out that Doctor Doom is responsible, I mean that says a lot about Doctor Doom, because Loki, what was Loki? He was the god of stories. He's pretty powerful. So, I mean, Steve confronts him and learns the villain's true plan to allow the incursions to happen so that he can rebuild the universe in his own image and resurrect his dead family. I have maintained from day one, this whole Doomsday thing, how they announced it, old man Iron Man coming back, basically being Doctor Doom, the whole bringing everyone else back. It's so contrived. It is so. So as I said, over the last few days, I watched the 3 Captain America movies and the 3 Avenger movies. There is a sense of authenticity with every movie, as it led from one to the next to the next to the next. And there was a time where I actually enjoyed Iron Man more than Cap. But I'm at the point now, maybe over the last 1 or 2 years, that I realized that I actually enjoyed Captain America, and that's why I watched the 3 Captain America movies, more so than I enjoyed Iron Man. I don't know. I don't know. I question Robert Downey Jr. as an asset as Doctor Doom. Now, we don't have all the story details just yet, but I question whether fans, because I looked at the 6 movies that I watched, I looked at them all as nostalgia, like leave them there. Like it's almost like he didn't want their tomb or their casket opened up and a reimagining of these characters coming to life. And a lot of it is the closure that happened with a lot of these characters. So I don't know. I still feel that it's the end. Like, if you ask me, it's the end of the superhero genre. It is. At least for a while. We're done. Like, we're done with it. It was a great 15 years while it lasted. Unless great storytelling, and I mean great storytelling, return to this entire superhero genre, to me, Doomsday is doomed. Especially with their budgets, with all of this money that they had to bring back all of these actors. Things get a little vague from here, but Doom takes Steve to his castle in Latveria and introduces his masked followers, one of whom is supposedly impersonating Peggy to manipulate Cap. I mean, okay, I'm not going to say anything. His presence on Earth 828 is what would cause the impending incursion in their reality, prompting Doom to conduct dangerous experiments that eventually went horribly wrong, killing his wife and child and leaving him disfigured. That's why he's now trapped in his armor and mask. And to make Steve pay, he kills Jim in front of him. As of now, we don't know whether Victor clashed with the Fantastic Four before or after this accident. I can now reveal. Oh, I don't want to go there. I can now reveal that the photo they shared is the set where they shot a scene with Doom and his family in a lab during an experiment that kills them and damages his body. I mean, it doesn't give much away, but you know, it's a lot of look. This stuff tends to be pretty good for the movie, right? You want to lay these, call them honeypots or whatever they are, story honeypots out there for the fans to see and to salivate over what might happen. It seems Thor has told his fellow heroes, "Oh, hey, Pamela, how you doing, Pamela? Haven't seen you for a while. Hope all's well." Pamela G1. We're going over the Doomsday. There's been some releases. We're going over the because there's been a plot release on Doomsday. Yes, good. I don't know if it's good, but you know. It seems Thor has told his fellow heroes about Doom's true nature as the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and X-Men arrive in Latveria, ready to fight. The God of Thunder prays to Odin. Now, that was the one clip they actually did release, right? Who sends an army from Valhalla to join the battle, and war ensues as the final incursion begins. Sounds suspiciously like an endgame kind of a epic kind of a fight. There's no stopping that, and everything is destroyed apart from Doom. When he stole Loki's heart, he stole his powers and now uses them to create Battle World. Resurrecting the fallen, Doom erases their memories and makes it so that they only remember this new reality, where they have new lives in this false reality. With that, Doom sits on his throne as the God Emperor of Battle World. Oh, I mean, that's congratulations, I guess. We still have some unanswered questions, and there are some plot holes. Did Doom killing Loki start the incursions? And if he'd already stolen those powers, why did he need to formulate that plan with the Fantastic Four and team up with those other heroes? Was he just distracting them in a bid to stop them? Or, you know what? Or it could be just what they do, as a screenwriter, and when you got information that you do not want people to learn, what happens is they have multiple different, they have like 15 to 20 different scripts. They're dummy scripts. Even, plot synopsis, things like that are there so that there's so many of them. So if one gets released, you're not, it doesn't matter because there's so much false information in it. You'll never know. So when these movies, I mean, Disney is so secretive with all of their major movies. They really are. They are so secretive. They create dummy scripts, dummy plots. And they will literally drop things out there. to get everyone moving in a direction that is not what the main movie is going to be. So I don't know. However, we can tell you that there's no link between Doom and Iron Man, and perhaps unsurprisingly, no mention of Kang. We've also learned that Doom's villainous turn occurs during the fight between the Avengers and the X-Men. So there are some key details missing from this initial link. I mean, that really, if there is no link between Doom and Iron Man, this is going to look so much more stupid than it was right from the beginning. You cannot take Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I mean, that final scene in Endgame was epic. That was probably the strongest scene in the phase 1, 2, and 3. And now you're just going to put him in there as Doomsday. I kind of think that this was a bit of a honeypot script or honeypot plot synopsis. That this was leaked to distract. There may be some truth to some of these things that are in here, but it could be 90% false. Or not exactly true, if you know what I mean. Spending 20 years in Hollywood, this is the way they do it, right? They put honeypots out there. So I am not convinced. I think they want to mislead. They want to distract. So one of the first things when they have that finished script, the first thing that they will do is like, okay, let's make the dummies. Okay, let's make the ones that we're going to use as honeypots. Anyone who is in the production, I mean, they are sworn to secrecy beyond. If they divulge, they will lose their house, their car, everything. If they divulge anything. That's what makes me think there's probably a lot more things that aren't true in this release that are true. Now, I do think, because it has been corroborated over a couple of other releases, that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe gets wiped out. It sounds interesting to me, because I don't think Hugh Jackman's going to have a major role in Doomsday. But the role that he would have makes sense to me with the Tobey Maguire universe. But like I said, I think this is a honeypot. I think stuff has been put out there. There are some seedlings that make sense. Obviously, there's the small when Odin goes and prays to his father. We've seen that little snippet, which is in here. But these things are all constructed to make sense. I don't know. We will not know. We will not know until we actually see the movie later this year. But that is the news. That is the Doomsday news. Did you hear what's happening in Iran? I mean, I just don't know. You know what? I'm glad to be in entertainment. I have, you know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying. Man, I'll tell you, us human beings. Oh, we're not there. We're gonna get there. We go, Starfleet. I love talking about this garbage. I do. Oh, geez, guys. Did I finish? Let me make sure I finished everything that I wanted to finish. I did. Yeah, I did. So, Starfleet Academy. So, episode 9, we are going to have... It's almost over. There's only 2 episodes left. And I know it's a really bad TV series. It's terrible. But this is part of the stuff that makes it fun. It was like The Acolyte. When we were reviewing The Acolyte, it was so fun to watch these episodes and to shred them and have so much fun shredding them because of the bad screenwriting, the bad directing, the bad sets, the bad everything, right? Starfleet Academy is no different. This is I mean, this is one of the worst TV shows ever made. We went through the Rachel Leishman interview. What was it? Just about a week ago, and talking about, oh, Star Trek should be fun in this. Oh my, I've been trying to get through to watch a lot more of these Star Trek episodes like that I haven't watched. Star Trek Discovery, and it just gets worse so bad so fast that it's hard. If I'm sitting here making videos and I've got my TV on over there, I got a big 60-inch screen off to my right. And it is so hard to keep my attention. Whether it's Discovery, and I've started to the Star Trek. There's so many. There's so many bad Star Treks out there, right? The Alex Kurtzman era, right? It has been an absolute disaster. And the biggest reason, and I've said this before, the biggest reason that these people like Alex Kurtzman and all of the writers that he brings in, look, these are not the writers that he brings in are not fans of science. They're not fans of science fact. They're not fans of science fiction. And this is what you get when you have people, screenwriters, or they're not even screenwriters, because look, I'm a screenwriter and I've won many awards. And so when I look at the work, and granted, it's hard to say because when you see a screenplay, oftentimes it's the director really fucking up. The director will screw up on taking what's on the pages and then converting it into the audio visuals, right? Because you need a good director, you need a good cinematographer, set design, costume design, all that's got to play its way through based on the script. But generally speaking, that's the story, right? The story dictates. It comes off the pages. And there is, in the entire Alex Kurtzman universe of Star Trek, starting from 2009, the Kelvin timeline, which basically absolutely bastardized the whole idea of Captain Kirk. And I like Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. I really did. I thought he was a good Captain Kirk. I thought the casting was pretty good. But the stories, I mean, we just keep hitting lower lows. Could you remember when Section 31 came out? They were thinking it can't get worse than this. It did. It did. Every time it gets worse, we think it can't get any worse, and it does. So anyway, on Thursday night, so we're on Thursday night, on the Thursday Night Big Show, we're going to go through the entire 9th episode because it is released every Thursday. And but they did release some images for us to there, and there's a great one of Holly Hunter, Captain Abe. Let me share this with you guys here. Where is it? Star Trek, there we go. Oops, there we go. There we go. That should do it, right? Okay. Let me fix this up here so that, there we go. That should work. Okay, there we go. Okay, preview, Star Trek, Starfleet Academy. Guys, season 1, episode 9. Did you guys watch episode 8? I hope, if I was, I could honestly say, if I wasn't reviewing, I don't know if I'd be watching. Maybe I'd be watching my favorite YouTube reviewer, and it comes across more as like a comedy event, right? Or just, look, the worst thing you could do is to give your time and attention to these stupid movies and these stupid TV shows. That is a matter of fact. If you're reviewing it, that just becomes part and parcel. But anyway, so 2 days from now, we have the episode 9. It's called 300th Night. Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, season 1, episode 9, 300th Night. Start right for the top. Let me highlight this. It's going to highlight. There we go. Starfleet Academy returns this week with the series penultimate episode, 300th Night. The installment is written by Kristen Bayer and directed by Jonathan Frakes and is set to debut on Paramount Plus on Thursday, March 5th. Check out the gallery of 5 new photos from the episode. This is the official synopsis as opposed to like the unofficial. As the year comes to an end, like I don't think that, have they even been in class? Like what is well, I mean, even after 8 episodes, you ask yourself what's happened. And I like even today you go back, and I was going back through all the episodes as to what happened. Like what are the memorable events as to what happened? And honestly, almost the entire season so far is forgettable. There's nothing really that's memorable so far in this entire Starfleet Academy season. The Mariashi, the Mariashku, I mean, the sushi, whatever the ship, that episode 6, was it? It's somewhat memorable with the furries and the scream. I got, the thing, now they're looking at Tamira as being some sort of, she hurts people. She's the abyss. I mean, the words that they use to describe this character. Who has she hurt? She has hurt nobody. And this, and I said it in the last episode 8, the stupidity of these screenwriters. You can't even call them screenwriters. You've got Sam, who is going through some sort of, who dies basically, right? Sam dies. And you've got Tarima talking about hurting people. So why didn't you make whatever happened to Sam a direct result of what Tarima did? Now you've got some real guilt factor, but it's right there in the same episode. It would take a grade 4 student to say, hey, why don't you just take these? I mean, why didn't you combine them? And now you could have had some real emotional stakes in Tarima, where she basically killed Sam, or as we almost killed Sam, but Sam got a new papa, right? Sam got a new daddy. Who's your daddy? Oh, fuck, man. But at least that would have tied in the stakes that we have Tarima, that we have unintended consequences, right? This is not rocket science. But they separated the two, and somehow a photonic hologram has processors. Light has processors. I don't even know how any of this, and they don't explain it because they can't explain it because they're science stupid. That's the problem with this entire, one of the major problems is that they are science stupid. Their science IQ is sub 50. They know nothing about science fact. You have to know stuff about science fact if you're going to make great science fiction. It's just part of the process. As the year comes to an end, let's get into it. As the year comes to an end, Caleb must choose between the life he thought he wanted and the life he's built for himself at Starfleet Academy. Was there another life that he wanted? Because if there was, you haven't told us, because he's either trying to get in bed with Genesis or Tarima. Meanwhile, Nala breaks protocol in one final gambit to keep a promise to Caleb. There we go, guys. There we go. That's, oh my God, that's the image. That's the image. Does she have her shoes off? That's. Do you remember the old original Star Trek with Captain Kirk, Spock, and Bones? Remember when Kirk would like jump up on the chair and he'd be like he would sit just like that. No, he would. Could you imagine Jean-Luc Picard just kind of like he just takes his shoes off and goes cross-legged? Number one, can you pass me my hibiscus oil, sir? I need to massage my feet with some hibiscus oil. Like, this is so freaking stupid. Holly Hunter is Captain Nale Aka in season 1, episode 9 of Star Trek. So, does she have shoes on? I asked this for the foot fetish people. Starfleet Academy streaming on Paramount Plus. Photo credit, Michael Gibson. That's a good shot, Michael. It's a good freaking shot. We get 6 of these. This is 6 images from the next episode on Thursday. Left to right, Roberto Picardo as the Doctor and Tig Notaro as Reno in season 1, episode 9 of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, streaming on Paramount Plus. Photo credit, Michael Gibson as Reno. Her name was it? It's not Reno, is it? Her name was. I thought it was, okay. Look, I don't really. This image you thought was important to release to us. Holly Hunter's Captain Naliake season 1. Look. This is the last video I made last week on Thursday. It was about the Federation as female. Even if you watch all of Alex Kurtzman's Star Treks, all of them, you would think that the population is about 78% female, maybe 80% female. I don't know what the guys are doing. Are they laying brick? Are they? What are the guys doing? Because basically, in the STEMs and in the sciences, even today, it's like 87% male. My science channels. I have a science channel called Dimension Zero. I mentioned this last week. Literally, I have almost 98%, 97.6% male audience. And I do science videos, everything from black holes to magnetars to supernovas, all this stuff. And then I get into Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Skynet, anything science fiction or science fact. That's what I do. Nor have I ever dated a girl, and I've been around the block, who has ever been into Star Wars or been into Star Trek, or who would go see a movie or watch sci-fi TV with me. Not to say, look, there are some great female fans of these franchises. They are the best. They rock. But this is a male franchise. Episode 9 is going to be Federation is female +2. It's going to be more than episode 8 because the images that we're getting, what do you see here? Again, you've got the I'm not sure what her pronouns might be, but Tig Notaro, and then you got 2 more females. There's not one guy on the bridge. Like they can just see, like on the doors that open up in the bridge, no men allowed. If you have a penis, get the fuck out. Okay, just get the fuck out. It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. Is that number 6? Is that our final? Oh gosh, that's our final. So that is our little preview. So looks like there's going to be some bridge action. The females got it, so I don't even know. There's no who are the. Why is the Doctor on the bridge? Well, the Doctor he's firing photon torpedoes. Robert Picardo as the Doctor. Some people like him. Look, I don't know if he's a good actor. I have not seen him in anything that I'm overly impressed with. So it's just my opinion. And there's bad scripts. Look, bad scripts do make bad actors out of good actors. They do. They really do. And it could be the case here. But his character is. I mean, that is fuck. Come on. There you go. There's your. There you go. But that. We'll see. We'll find out. We'll find out on Thursday night, episode 9. We are live on Thursday night. We have the Thursday night big show, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We will go deep into. Yeah, thank you very much. We'll go deep into the episode. It's the second last one. Look, I'm having fun ripping this shit apart because it's fun tearing apart garbage. It really is. As someone who went to English, who majored in English University, creative writing, and as a screenwriter, someone who's been on both sides of the camera to watch, look, you don't. Could you imagine how many thousands and thousands and thousands of highly qualified people are out of business, have left Los Angeles, only to go back and to turn on the TV and watch the crap that is coming out of Hollywood? It is painful. It is painful for everybody. For the normie and for the industry people who can no longer find work because it's saturated with writers of this caliber. Not just writers, but people at all level. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. So, but anyway. Oh, we got the so on our final segment tonight, this is something that is very, and I want to touch on the Warner Brothers and the Paramount acquisition before we close the show, because there's some stuff I gotta say. There we go. So that's right. So a Game of Thrones movie, and I got a few thoughts on this. So this came through today or yesterday. When did it come through? I'm not sure when it did. So, I mean, Game of Thrones, if you look, there's a lot of Game of Thrones fans, a lot of us. And I used the old image of Ned Stark, because I thought, you know what, even though obviously there's not going to be anything dealing with him in the new movie, or if there is a movie contemplated, but that is the classic image for, Game of Thrones. And what they're trying, or what they... let me get this up here. Where is it? House of the Dragon. Oh, right. I do want to show. Shoot. Never mind. Get this. I get this straight. Go there. There we go. So here we go. Let me see if I can get this advertisement gone. Yep, got it. So Game of Thrones, movie about Aegon the Conqueror from Andor writer in the works. Now, there's big problems with this. The problem is obviously that Warner Brothers looks like it's going to be sold to some degree. And I argue that the California regulators and the European Union regulators will be the hardest nuts to crack. And there's going to be a divestiture of, if it's going to go through, of quite a few properties. And it may not just be the cable properties. There might be some asset divestiture, especially in California. Do not overestimate or underestimate the regulators in California. But we'll see. I think this is... I also think my initial thoughts of any GOT movie, this is a... We're already used to seeing this franchise on TV. I don't think it does any benefit moving the franchise to the big screen. The big screen is a dying medium. TV is not. There's no benefit to moving Game of Thrones into the cinematic universe. I don't get it. But this literally came out today, guys. March 3rd. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, smaller, more intimate story restored. Where do these people get their freaking writing skills from? A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, smaller, more intimate story restored. I could rewrite this sentence a lot better. Fuck me. Enthusiasm in the realm in the realm. Now Warner Brothers Discovery is hoping to cash in on renewed interest in Westeros by going big, like two simple sentences in a row, specifically by going to the big screen. 3. A new report says the studio is developing a Game of Thrones movie about Aegon the Conqueror. From Andor's writer. This is such a poorly written. But Paramount's own hostile conquest of Hollywood could turn this tale of fire and blood to ash before the king can land in theaters. Guys, this is a terribly written. This person has not taken many English lessons. Page 6, Hollywood's Tatiana Siegel reports Warner Brothers Discovery is developing a Game of Thrones movie about Aegon the First. He's the legendary dragon lord who reunited the realm and established House Targaryen's rule in Westeros. This is not the first time the studio has considered bringing the Conqueror story to the screen. He has long been considered for a TV spin-off, which is, I would argue, which is where this franchise should be. TV is the new cinematic universe. This is where people are watching, streaming, binging. People are getting bigger and bigger screens, 95-inch screens. 95-inch screens. Only Warner Brothers is now looking to bring him to theaters, something David Benioff and D.B. Weiss wanted to do with Game of Thrones long ago. This latest attempt to bring Aegon's story to life is serious enough that a script already exists. Andor writer and House of Cards showrunner Beau Willimon has already turned in a first draft of the Game of Thrones movie. Page 6, Hollywood sources say the studio is very excited about what Willimon gave them. This is such a fucking poorly written article. And it might not matter. Do you guys know what I mean? I don't think you have to be any sort of English major to understand how bad this article is. I should have read the other one. My apologies. The pending sale of Warner Brothers to Paramount Skydance means no one in Hollywood really knows anything right now. That includes the executives developing this Aegon project. It's unclear if anyone at Warner Brothers can make this Game of Thrones movie or any other new film happen before the merger goes through. I would say no. No. Generally speaking, when you have a signed document dealing with the acquisition, you typically have limiting factors, or something that is above this budget needs to be approved by both parties, the acquirer and the acquiree, yada, yada, yada. It's not clear it should. Either Willimon's resume speaks for itself and his script might be absolutely tremendous, but Aegon's story might be too big for the screen. Rome wasn't built in a day, and Westeros wasn't conquered in one either. Can you tell the tale of Targaryens became kings with fire and blood in just 2 hours? We don't know. We don't know. But if you would like to learn more about the Targaryens' history, yada, yada, yada. So basically, there is a desire, there is an intent, and this would have started months back, right? They would have said, yes, give us a script. If, what's his name, Willimon would have been, maybe he would have been at least 3 to 6 months writing the first draft. At least. So this started long before, or not long before, at least before the real acquisition talk started with Warner Brothers. However, I would highly doubt, especially during an acquisition, these things get projects get axed very quickly, and especially if they're at the script level, they rarely do they go through to the final. Although I do know that David Ellison, it is a known fact, David Ellison loves Game of Thrones. So a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff is going to have preferential treatment with David Ellison. I can't say that with the Star Trek stuff, because as far as I know, he's not a huge Star Trek fan. But look, for Star Trek is such a massive franchise. For it to have gone through this many decades of utter neglect, destruction, having the worst people in the world that you could have guiding these franchises. Star Trek, it is going to take, if Star Trek is going to come back from the grave, it's going to require such an incredible script, an incredible cast, an incredible story of that it literally have to be one of the best new Star Trek TV series to ever come out. Just to get rid of the filth of Alex Kurtzman. Even J.J. Abrams, even J.J. I mean, it's all bad. I mean, Star Trek could be a dead breed. It could be a dead franchise. It could be. It is going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of dead space, and one hell of a script to bring that whole franchise back to life. It really is. But for Game of Thrones, I question whether the Game of Thrones movie in the cinematic universe is the way to go. It doesn't sound right to me. Game of Thrones is a TV. There's no benefit to take the Game of Thrones to a cinematic universe. I don't see it. Why would you do that? It doesn't even make any sense. The richness of the entire Game of Thrones Westeros universe requires a lot of storytelling. Let GOT and all of its different incantations, its different stories, let it remain on TV. There's no benefit to creating a movie in the cinematic universe. You could do a trilogy, 6 hours. That's six 1-hour episodes, where you probably can do 2 or 3 seasons of Aegon the Conqueror the First, which is probably where it should remain. That's just my thoughts. That's just my opinion. Who knows? But the other thing is, I mean, this really boils down to everything that is with the whole Warner Brothers and Paramount acquisition. Now, I worked on Wall Street for 9 years. I'm a screenwriter, so I've got, in terms of the acquisition side, the biggest problems are going to be, like I said, it's going to be the California regulators and it's going to be the EU regulators. David Ellison, do I have that? Oh, I do. So this is, let me show you this. David Ellison, he knows what the big problem is. Europe prepares to delay but not derail David Ellison's Paramount Warner Brothers deal. And I maintained right from the beginning, that Netflix would not be able to buy Warner Brothers for one reason or another. With the congressional hearings and everything that's come out, Netflix determined that as well. They took $2.8 billion from this guy, Mr. I was born with my daddy's a $300 billionaire. So a major silver spoon. Europe's antitrust review could delay David Ellison's $110 billion Paramount Warner Brothers acquisition, but the media merger is on track for 2026 closure. I don't know as Cynthia Bannock what her financial background is, but I was a market maker, economic analyst. I worked on deals for 8 or 9 years. So I would not agree with that at all. The Paramount Warner Brothers deal led by David Ellison continues to advance through regulatory scrutiny, with Europe's antitrust process poised to extend timelines without blocking the transaction. I disagree. They will block it. They will demand divestiture of many of the properties. They will not allow it just to go through. If they do, I'd be shocked. Just like with EA Sports and Microsoft. They had to divest of a lot of different properties. And this will be the case. And you think that California is just going to allow their industry to shrink even more? There's a lot of roadblocks. And if this deal doesn't go through, Paramount pays Warner $7 billion, guys. $7 billion. $7 billion if it doesn't go through. That'll be a $10 billion mistake. $10 billion mistake on the Ellison's part. Can you imagine losing $10 billion just over transactional fees? There's zero. It's a pure expense. It's a pure loss. Regulators in Brussels are examining overlaps in TV assets, streaming services, and foreign funding elements through media. Though media sources indicate approval should come with only minor divestments, if any. Combined with entities, market share remains below 20% in European markets. On February 27, 2026, Paramount Skydance, led by CEO David Ellison, finalized a definitive $110 billion all-cash agreement to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery at $31 per share. This followed a heated bidding war with Netflix, initially secured, but ultimately declined to match Paramount's superior offer, pocketing $2.8 billion in termination fee. Could you imagine $2.8 billion just because someone canceled the transaction? Backed by his father, Larry Ellison's substantial resources. Yeah, big silver spoon, David. Big silver spoon in your mouth. Yeah, my daddy is worth $300 billion, so it's really hard for me to build a business that way. Middle Eastern sovereign funds and debt financing. David Ellison pursued the full WBD entity, including studio streaming, cable networks, and news assets to build a powerhouse rival to Netflix. The merged company would combine Paramount Pictures and Warner Brothers Studios, merge Paramount and HBO Max, potentially reaching over 200 million subscribers across 100 plus countries, retain premium cable like CNN and Discovery channels, and control vast IP libraries featuring franchises such as Harry Potter, Batman, and Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. There's a lot. Ellison has committed to 30 annual theatrical releases, a 45-day theatrical window, and $6 billion in cost synergies to manage a projected $79 billion net debt post-closing. And I believe that Skydance, that their debt rating is on watch. They'll probably be downgraded because of the amount of debt that they're going to take on for this deal. The deal targets Q3 2026 closure, pending global regulatory approvals amid ongoing industry shifts. What is the EU antitrust review saying about the Paramount Warner Brothers deal? The European Commission is preparing a thorough antitrust examination of Paramount Warner Brothers transaction, scrutinizing overlaps in pay TV distribution, streaming services, content licensing, and foreign funding. And so basically, and also the UK's got to do it too. The UK has got to. There's a lot of different areas that need approval. Whether California is going to be a big one, UK, Europe. The Department of Justice here in the United States is probably not going to be a big deal. You got Trump. Trump and Ellison's, they're buddies. Just like the Democrats, it's no different than the Democrats. So you don't have to wince and whine. That's the nature of politics. This is what happens, right? But it's going to be Europe, the UK, Europe and California. You can throw the UK in there maybe as well. If the UK shuts it down, the deal won't go through either. And California. According to sources cited by Reuters, Paramount is expected to secure EU approval relatively easily as the combined market share remains below 20% in key European territories, posing fewer concerns than Netflix's earlier bid might have. Alice Enders of Enders Analysis told Hollywood Reporter, this is a studio-to-studio merger plus networks plus SVOD to SVOD, which is complicated in the EU by multiple layers of TV market and 27 member states. Enders further added, the European Commission has a lengthy process because of 27 national markets and so many trade bodies and a densely packed ecosystem of networks. I don't think it's as easy as anyone is talking about. That's why David Ellison is already out there talking to EU regulators. The review could extend timelines through detailed probes into TV assets and streaming competition. It is far more likely to delay than derail the deal. I disagree. It is going to, if it delays it, it might derail. And that's when all these divestiture, you have to sell this, and this. And some of them might be the great frank. They might say, look, we don't want you having Lord of the Rings with everything else that you have. We want you to sell that. We want you to sell some of these. A lot of it is going to be the cable networks. But we'll see. We'll see what it all comes. Potential remedies, if needed, would involve minor divestitures of select channels or brands akin to past media mergers. Paramount CEO David Ellison has been meeting with prominent European political figures in an attempt to derail Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers from ever being approved by the EU. So basically, that's what it is, right? It is a big fight. Everyone wants the goodies. Oops, there we go. Everybody wants the goodies, and that's the fight that's going to happen with these media properties. David Ellison knows. That's why he's been talking with the EU. He knows it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a huge uphill battle with California. There could be a regulator that comes out of left field. UK, DOJ, I doubt. California, yes. EU, could be some problems. UK, could be some problems. So this isn't a slam dunk deal by any. There could be a lot of divestiture, and the things that are sold could make this deal look a lot less attractive than what it looked like before. So who knows? Was that a delay? That's all I know, guys. So the Snyder gun, I think, look, Snyder might be coming back. The Snyderverse, if I had a choice between Snyderverse or the Gunverse, I'm picking the Snyderverse. I am. Because what I've seen from the Gunverse, oh shit. Come on, are you serious? Doomsday, I've always maintained Doomsday is doomed. It's going to lose money. The amount of money they're putting into it, I could be wrong. I think the leak today was filled with a few honeypots that probably was meant to divert people's attention or to stray them away to what the actual plot's going to be. You got to think there's going to be 15 to 20 phantom scripts out there. And that's what they do. They write fake scripts. They're not dumb, right? This is like when they want to keep something secret, this is what you have to do. And so that even though you might find 5 different scripts and you don't know which one is real. And if they didn't do that, Disney, you're as dumb as you are as anyone thought you were. Like really, seriously. Starfleet episode 9, guys, come back. Thursday night, big show. Starfleet Academy episode 9. We're going to be doing that on this Thursday in about 46 hours time. And the GO2, the Game of Thrones movie, like the egg on the, I don't think it's going to happen. With everything that's going on, it's going to be shelved, just like a lot of the Game of Thrones stuff that's been going on. And especially now with the acquisition, all this acquisition stuff. James Gunn is working on The Man of Tomorrow. He starts filming this week or next week. He might be trying to push as much through as he can. I mean, that might be his modus operandi. How much can we actually put through before? Because I don't think if Paramount acquires Warner Brothers, the Gunverse is dead. Over. The Gunverse will not remain. I will guarantee you, if Paramount does purchase Warner Brothers and they have to divest a few things, the Snyderverse will return. I'm betting on. I bet that is exactly what will happen. I'd put money on it. I would. If Paramount does buy Warner Brothers, but we'll see. Guys, that's all we got for tonight. My name is Danny Alex. It is Tuesday. This is the Tuesday Big Show. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on the Thursday Big Show in 46 hours from now. And yeah, thanks for watching. My name is Danny Alex. Have a great evening and a great sleep. We'll see you in a couple of days. Oh, sorry. You're still there.
Yeah, baby. Are you not entertained?
I'm sorry, baby. I didn't know it was your turn.
You. Look at me.
Yes.
What's wrong with being sexy? I mean, there's no
Sex.
These go to 11.
Does that mean it's louder?